Have you ever wanted to play as yourself in a fantasy setting and just cringe at the idea of being a hairy midget or a twink with pointy ears? There is one race that might just be perfect for you. Can you guess what it is? That's right, humans. Humans are the vanilla ice cream of fantasy races. They're what you pick when you don't know what else to choose. Oh, I can play an immortal high elf who commands the forest, or a fierce orc that can choke and slam a dragon? Nah, I'll just be Norm, the level 1 human fighter with 2 alive parents and a healthy relationship with their extended family. Humans are the template, the default, the control group. They're like the blank canvas the world expects you to project yourself onto. And you know what that means? They're an empty vessel on purpose, like the protagonist in a young author novel. Can't have too many specifics, otherwise they can't be a self-insert, right? Humans in fantasy games are always balanced around being able to do anything decently, like a +1 to everything. Get a bonus feat, a bonus skill. No race has ever offered less while still somehow being one of the most powerful picks at your disposal. They're like a reliable car with decent mileage, okay horsepower, and no personality. Sure, it gets you where you need to go, but no one's going to be impressed seeing you pull up as a human. They don't have dark vision, they don't have claws, they don't even live long enough to see the ancient evil they sealed away come back for revenge. But they do have a knack for picking things up and randomly become better at it than the elf or the dwarf that has honed their skills for centuries. We have all heard the tale of a human at the age of 50 who became the most powerful wizard in the land, surpassing everyone, including the Council of Elders that created magic in the first place. But have you heard the tale of the same Council of Elders having to do the whole thing over again because that same human died in their 60s from some health complication, having only been an archmage for like a decade? Not much was done in the grand scheme of magic. How is it that the shortest lived, least naturally magical race always ends up running the continent? You've got elves who can naturally spellcast as toddlers, dwarves building cities in the harshest climates since they were kids, and dragons who can literally vaporize armies with a yawn and would be able to rule for thousands of years, but somehow some human named King Gregor V is sitting on the throne. It's always the same. The human kingdoms have united under one banner to defend the realm. So you're telling me a couple of elven tribes couldn't tolerate each other for just long enough to crush the human uprising? Yeah, I guess that checks out. They can't be bothered to do anything even when their lives depend on it. Let's be real, if there's a war that utilized spells that made the planet mostly uninhabitable, or a crusade against the literal gods that resulted in reality falling apart, odds are it started with humans. They colonize the elves, they mine the dwarves' sacred mountains, they experiment with forbidden magic. They even summon an evil deity that promises them immortality in exchange for their soul when they die, and they don't seem to realize the conflict of interest there. And yet, every time the world is ending because of a human, there is another human who is destined to save everyone. Only humanity has the courage to fix it. Buddy, you broke it. The least you can do is fix it. Have you ever read human lore in fantasy games? It's just Europe with dragons. Feudalism, noble houses, children of monarchies fighting for the throne, and a church that's definitely not the Catholic Church. And always some legendary human hero with a glowing sword that's way too big for them, and a name like Daedric Dawnbreaker, Lightbringer of Lord's Landing. Meanwhile, the elves are over here creating rune magic, and the dwarves just discovered steam-powered tanks. But no, let's focus on Norm and his sword, because for some reason, Norm's gonna win with 500 years less of combat experience. Humans get all the personalized drama. Orphan with mysterious powers, chosen one of a forgotten prophecy, street urchin turned thieves guild leader turned king, all human. The only race with upwards mobility in fantasy for some reason are humans. The peasant boy can marry the princess and become the most feared pirate captain in the land. But an elf that was born in the second most wealthy noble family will never be able to even consider speaking with the most powerful family. Other races will talk about the glory days of their ancestors and their homelands that they're eager to return to, while humans will just give you a whole sob story. My entire town fell to dark magic. I watched my family die 3 times. First, the necrotic magic of the Lich robbed them of their life essence. Second, when the Lich peeled back their skin and rose them as skeletons, that robbed them of their identity. And finally, third, when a band of adventurers came and a paladin smited them to smithereens, taking from us the ability to give them a proper burial. Like, calm down, Oscar, no need to be dramatic. You got the award, you have the most motivation to slay the Lich. Humans are the only race allowed to be anything. You want a human barbarian who eats rocks? Fine. A human necromancer raised by cultists? Cool. A human monk who does backflips and speaks 7 languages? That's a standard build. But try making a scholarly half-orc who teaches elven poetry. Now it's a bit unrealistic. Humans can do anything and still be normal. Everyone else has to justify their entire existence within the fantasy setting. Meanwhile, a human can simply say as a child they saw something that they thought was cool, and now they want to become the best person to ever do that thing, and it's just accepted. Humans live like, what, 70 years? If they are an adventurer or a random peasant in a small town, that average age gets a lot lower. Most other races don't even move out of their parents' basement until that age. But that doesn't stop humans from founding empires, changing history, building cities across the lands, having large civil conflicts due to overextension, and then seeing the civilization come to an end, all in one generation. And when the king dies, apparently he left a legacy. Ah yes, the bloodline of King Greg still echoes through the lands. He ruled for 2 years and only got the job because he betrayed his brother, who betrayed their father, all within the span of half a decade. Chill. It shouldn't count as an empire until at least the 500-year mark. Your grandkids will never have heard of that kingdom or the other 3 that have risen and fallen by the time they are old enough to walk. Humans in fantasy are just us with even less accountability. Same flaws, same ability for war crimes, now with the ability to do magic. If you thought humans were bold before, just imagine how aggressive they can be if any abuse of magic gets rewarded with more powerful magic. Humans commit fraud without magic. You don't think that a human wizard would just use conjuration to sell fraudulent goods and then run away before the spell duration ends? Hell, I don't make counterfeit bills in real life, but if I could conjure ones that seem legit and last 24 hours, I'd dine and dash in every tavern my party stops at just because I had the spell slots to burn. Ah, humans, the vanilla, adaptive, and drama-addicted disaster species of fantasy. They break things, crown themselves kings, and get overthrown by other humans that break their things. In a game where you can be anyone and you basically pick yourself in a tunic, you could argue that you're limiting your full potential within a fantasy world. But you could also argue that it's the best option because you don't have to be limited by the tropes of other more narrowly defined races. The fact that you can throw a human into any situation and they come out capable of thriving is a testament to their resilience. That's why I don't consider it an insult by any means when humans are called fantasy's most basic adventurers. If you liked the video, make sure to check out my other releases on the channel and subscribe because I'll be releasing a ton more of these. And if you want to support the channel, you can get 10% off when you use code LootGoblin at gamersups.gg. Be sure to try out the flavor of the day called Lemonade. It's the most straightforward and accurately named Gamersups flavor. You know exactly what you're gonna get, just like playing that 5th human fighter in a row. If you want a free sample before you buy or caffeine-free versions of any of the flavors, my link works for that too. Farewell for now.